Hello, I'm Cheryl Meyer, and I'm otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. And what my goal is to inspire you to lead a healthier life. So when I proposed my podcast, I proposed that we present it in two different segments. The first one is It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health, where I get to share everything I have learned to return my health back to relative wellness and to live a pain-free life in spite of the fact that I have autoimmune disease. But the second part of my podcast is this episode, and that's Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. My concept with this is it's all fine and well that you hear me tell my story, but I get a lot of, it's all fine and well that it worked for you, but it's not going to work for me. And I wanted you to hear that there are lots of people out there that have made changes in their lifestyle that have supported their health and brought them back to relative wellness. We all have a couple things in common. We all owned our own health. Whatever the doctor was suggesting we did was going on a parallel path to us making these lifestyle changes where we did things that cleaned up our toxic load. We all pay attention to our body. You'll hear jazz in the background because I want you to listen to the rhythm of your health, and I want you to pay attention to what your body is telling you. My body had been trying to tell me that I was going to topple over into toxic load for some time. I just wasn't listening. So if you clean up your lifestyle and if you listen to your body, you have a very good chance not of being deprived in any way, but returning to feeling darn good. And that's what these podcasts are really all about. So thank you for joining me. This is going to be a Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that we all inspire you to lead a healthier, happier life. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to another episode of It Feels Good to Feel Good and Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. I have a very special guest today. She was one of the first people I came across in my own journey, and her story is so important for you to hear because although it is far worse in terms of what she had to go through before she discovered how important non-toxin products were, she went through exactly the same things that I did, and by cleaning up the toxins in her life, not only did she return to health, but she was able to create a healthy environment for her son, who was dealing with severe toxicity from all the products that he was up against. So my guest today is Marilee Nelson of Branch Basics, which is a brilliant cleaning solution that I want you all to learn about and find out about. And I'm going to put a whole page on my website so you can go read about it with the website that you can go learn about it. But she's here to tell you her story and how she came about cleaning up her life, coming back to health herself, cleaning up her son's life, bringing him back to health, and now he is in the Air Force. Is it the Air Force or the Navy?
He was in the Navy.
He's now, he became a pilot in the Navy, super healthy, super successful, super bright after years of toxicity that hindered him and kept him down. So with that, I'm going to introduce Marilee and let her tell her story.
Well, first of all, Cheryl, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and the privilege to share information with your audience.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yes, I mean, just like you were saying, sometimes we go through hard times and we discover things, and I had two potentially, I'll say, catastrophic things happen, one to myself and the other to my son, that resulted in,
That's okay, I was going with that, me.
Resulting in actually discoveries and opportunities that I never would have dreamt of. And the great thing about it was it ended up being so simple, so uncomplicated, just plain common sense. And the steps that I took that revealed or enabled us to come through very serious health situations is something that you can do yourself.
Right. If you own your own health, I don't care how lousy you feel, you can impact it. And that's what this story is going to show very clearly.
That's right. Well, I was totally in the dark and without a clue about what was impacting my health. I had been sickly growing up as a child. I had horrible allergies. I caught every cold, every flu. If you look crooked at me, I'd get something for 6 weeks that you might have for 3 weeks. I had horrible, painful menstrual cramps. I had a fever of unknown origin, which meant I had a low-grade fever most of the time, but it would spike to maybe 105, 106 periodically. So by the time I was in high school, I was already reading medical books, trying to figure out how I could help the doctors figure out what was wrong with me. And then later, I got so sick that I had to have exploratory surgery. And I have to tell you, I was so excited about that surgery. It was almost, and I say this seriously, it was almost like I was going to my own wedding or a party, because I just knew these 11 experts that were on the medical team were going to open me up and they're going to go, oh, that's what's wrong. Close me up and say, here's the magic pill, or here's the therapy, here's what we need to do. So after the surgery, I was laying in my hospital bed and the surgeon came in, and I absolutely adored this man. And he took my hand and he said, Marilee, I just want to tell you, this did not turn out like we expected. First of all, you're never going to be able to have babies because you have such extensive endometriosis. And you're going to end up needing to go on dialysis and have a kidney transplant. Well, I mean, I was post-surgery, I was on morphine, but my alert level went way up when I heard that. And I just said from the heart, with respect, and I'm so grateful this is how I responded. I just looked at him and said, I'm just glad you're not God. I cannot be subject to what the medical world has to offer me at this point in time. What if next year or 2 years or, soon there's a discovery of what I need and I don't have a kidney? I said, no way. There is a way out. And so I've always said, I'm sure he thought I was hallucinating from the drug or I'd gone nuts. But this was a turning point in my life. I had hit a crossroad. And I always think of that poem, The Road Less Traveled by Robert Frost. It says, and I came to a crossroad and I took the road less traveled and it made all the difference. And anyway, what happened is I got out of the hospital and yes, I started looking for that magic pill or that therapy. I was looking at medical journals. I was searching. I was knowing there was something they just didn't see. And I was led to a medical doctor in Boston, a Boston hospital that was using food as medicine. And when he told me that I needed to get off my sad standard American diet full of chemicals and eat real food and the food that he was going to prescribe, I really thought he was in outer space. I had no frame of reference for that. I had grown up as a foodaholic. I was my parents called me the human garbage disposal because there were never leftovers. If I was eating dinner, I was thinking about the ice cream in the freezer. When I was eating the ice cream in the freezer, I was thinking about the cookies in the cabinet. And when I was old enough to get money to go to the store and go shopping for clothes, I went to a restaurant. That's how it was with me.
Well, you were highly addicted to all those things, which people don't realize. It's not just the sugar, it's all the chemicals. They're all addictive.
I was completely addicted. So, but what did I have to lose? I mean, this was crazy. But from the very first meal, I will never forget it. I remember sitting, being finished. I thought, I am not thinking about the ice cream in the freezer or what I can eat. I felt satisfied. It was like my body said, you finally gave me real food.
Right. I'm sure your body did say that. One of the things I want us to do is listen to our body, because believe it or not, when you give it what it wants, it celebrates.
That's right. That's right. And now I am going to describe something that seems so bizarre, but I've seen it over and over again. And I was very fortunate to have excellent support, help, a very specific diet. But after 10 days, this is 10 days, I was off all medication. I've never been on a prescription or an over-the-counter drug again. My cramps that were so bad, I used to take my mother's narcotics for pain. She had cancer, and those were gone. My allergies went, almost everything problem I had left except one of my allergies, and that was cedar, which later left after I learned more. But it was a revolutionary shift.
Yeah, I tell clients, give me 3 weeks, humor me for 3 weeks, and try what I'm suggesting, because you will feel so significantly better in just 3 weeks. You will want to continue going forward and learn the rest of the things you can do for good health. 3 weeks.
That is correct. So I can tell you, after this was kind of over, I was sitting in the dust, and I was going, how can it be that in this civilized country that we are knowingly allowing chemicals to be put in our food that impact us mentally, physically, and emotionally? Well, I can tell you, I wanted to get on the top of the Empire State Building and shout it out.
Me too.
That's what I thought. I'm going to write a book, and it was going to be called Why Didn't Someone Tell Me? Because I had missed so many activities growing up, maybe missing 6 weeks worth of school. And all I had to do was eat real food. Oh my gosh. So I changed my career path. I became a medicinal cook, a nutritional consultant. I started cooking medicinally for people and children, and I saw over and over the incredible results. And just like what you said a minute ago, one of my stipulations is that if I actually worked with someone, if I cooked for you, or if I was telling you what to do, you had to agree that you were not going to cheat, because you don't realize how much these chemicals hijack your health. And you really need to give it that good try. So anyway, when you learn something, you think, oh, wow, this is it. And you're going to go out and tell the world, and you try, and it's really great. But, we always have more to learn, and boy, did I have more to learn. So my next eye-opening experience was learning about what an impact outdoor air quality had. And that was 5 years after I had become a medicinal cook. I got the opportunity to be in charge of a Caribbean resort where I managed the kitchen and the cooking. And I mean, we were right on the beach, the white sand and the blue water.
It's like heaven.
So we moved from Houston, Texas, which is very polluted, to this incredible pristine air. Well, my son, I had a son, and at that time, when we moved over there, he was 5 years old. And I thought he was a very smart child. And he was a smart little boy. But this phenomenal shift came. And one day when I was in the kitchen with my staff, he walks in and he goes, Mommy, there's 70 toes in here. And I looked at him and I thought for a minute, so what's he saying? And then someone walked out, or maybe 2 people said, and now there's 50 toes. So I'm thinking real quick, I'm going, oh my gosh, he is multiplying 10 toes per person. He is, dividing, and he had not been taught that.
And he was 5 then, correct?
And he was able to add 3-digit numbers like this. Anyway, Interestingly enough, there's been several studies by Harvard now that show the impact of air quality on IQ. And let me tell you something. It is an amazing, amazing factor in how we're able to think, in our children's ability. I had a whole change in my thinking about what really is intelligence. So anyway,
I'm just going to interject quickly. There are also studies out now that the air inside our homes is hundreds of times worse than the air outside. And since I live in Los Angeles, that's a big statement, but it's true here too.
That's right. And that was my next lesson, because what happened was we came back to the States. We actually moved to a very safe, wonderful outdoor air place in the country. In fact, the EPA at that time said it was one of the best air qualities in the country. So at age 10, though, my son was exposed to what the doctors called was a catastrophic level of exposure to pesticides. And he ended up being, what the doctor said, completely unable to detoxify the normal everyday chemicals that we come across in every day. You know, from the shampoo you use to the cleaners you're using in your home, etc. And also that his brain damage was irreparable. He went from being brilliant to not even being able to spell a 3-letter word or do simple math. And by that time, at age 10, he was doing algebra. I mean, he was just very brilliant. So,
and understand, these chemicals are being sprayed on our food to this day. And if you have a chemical sensitivity, or even if you don't, they are impacting you and your children, which is one of the reasons I want you to eat organic, and one of the reasons our farm country is having so many issues.
That's true. That is true. So the doctor told me, I had the same response to this doctor when he told me irreparable brain and immune system damage. I said, I'm just so glad you're not God. I know there's a way, and I'm not subject to what the medical world has to offer now. He actually took my hand and looked me straight in the eye, as if patting me on the back, and said, listen, the brain does not regenerate.
But they now know that it does.
We knew the neuroplasticity of the brain. Well, I just looked at him, I said, I don't accept that. So
and you were right.
Anyway,
they have since proven that you were right.
Well, the bottom line was, they gave us instructions. We need to go home and create a safe haven for our child. They said to create one room where he could go and be, and we would control him with the 23 shots a day he was supposed to take and all the medication. Well, we decided we were going to make our entire home a safe place. And I can tell you that it didn't sound overwhelming to me when he said, you're going to have to get toxic things out and bring in safe things, they were going to help me.
And there was no place easy to research this stuff at this point in time.
There was no internet. There was no cell phone. I mean, we're talking the dark ages to most of the people here that are listening. But, you could buy non-toxic products in Whole Foods then. And, but just like then, creating a healthy home is a nebulous concept. It still is today. And my story is going to, illustrate that. So I went home and we did everything that we could possibly do, and thought I had gotten everything out, thought that, all was well. But every time I'd bring a product home that said non-toxic on the label, he would react. And we found he really was not comfortable being in the house. So we were sleeping outside, going in during the day and all, but we ended up going outside. He was really good, helpful for him. But one night I was laying on the cot looking up at the sky and said, what am I missing? What am I missing? And I had this, this inner voice saying, go in and get that box out of your closet. And I argued between, I said, what, that box, all that was in that box was, oh, my favorite perfumes, my favorite skincare products, some things that I thought, well, when he gets better, I'll just pull these back out and it'll be fine. And I'll just keep them in this box in my closet and there's no problem. Well, I can tell you, I did not tell my husband or my son that I did that. I got up in the middle of the night, I took that box out. And the next day, when we were in the house, he came in, I was cooking, doing lunch, and he sat there about 10 minutes. He says, Mom, what did you do? And of course, I just lit up like I acted cool. I said, well, I don't know, what do you mean? And he says, there's something different. I'm just not feeling as agitated as I usually do when I come in the house. I said, really? So all this time I'm arguing in my head, and I said, this is crazy, this is coincidence. But I said, well, let's just stay in here as long as you feel comfortable. Well, he ended up spending the night. And
so this is huge. This is a level change.
Well, that is right. It was a level change. It was the aha eye-opening moment almost. I was still doubting. I was thinking, this is nuts. I didn't want to tell anyone. This is like my scientific experiment. So I'm like praying, okay, show me, help me understand. I need to know this. Very soon after that, maybe a few days, I was at the grocery store just going down the aisle, and I went by the aisle with the cleaning products and the pesticides, and I stopped, I gasped, I went, oh, that's it. And I went, those bottles are not only closed, but they're also sealed, and yet I'm smelling them.
Mm-hmm.
That must be what was going on with those things in my closet. Those bottles were emitting the volatile organic compounds, and maybe parts per million, parts per billion, but with his broken immune system, it was enough. So to move on with this, very quickly, once we created that safe haven where he was comfortable in the house, it became very easy for me to tell when I was bringing something in that was not good. So he became our little canary. And just to describe this a little bit graphically, I do this because I want everyone listening to think in terms of their family or maybe themselves, you know, because he had every symptom on the book that you can imagine. I might bring in one product and he would go into a fit of rage. He would just get angry, crying, screaming. He was just very irritable. Maybe something else would come in and he would become very lethargic, unable to even move, just so wasted, maybe more hyperactive. Sometimes he would get blinding migraine headaches and his eyes would just water and he'd cry and he would say, stop shouting. And I'd actually be almost whispering, but he was feeling like we were yelling. So the neurological impact, the emotional impact, the physical impact would be dramatic. So I thought, I've got to understand why these products that say non-toxic on them are causing this problem. So I started digging into ingredients. And the sad thing is that today, 30 years later, the non-toxic products on the market pretty much have the same ingredients. And anyway, bottom line, just to
there's levels of non-toxic is essentially what she's saying. Just because it says it doesn't mean that it's not toxic to you.
Well, non-toxic on a label is not enough.
Right.
I'm going to say something. There is a difference between someone having an allergy to maybe a peanut or something like a natural material and someone reacting to a petrochemical. It's completely in two different categories. These products, what I teach people now is how to easily vet and know what is and what's safe. But anyway, the bottom line was, and I'll just finish this part of the story, was my son did fully recover. He fully recovered his brain. I mean, there were a lot of factors here. And, bottom line is he ended up, as as Cheryl said, we went to the Naval Academy. He absolutely thrived. He did great. He ended up going into Naval Air Intelligence. He ended up being in Japan, being an intelligence liaison between South Korea and China. You can't be sick and do that.
No. And you had to be so proud that that's how his life took a different turn. Yeah.
The encouraging part is, though, is that he was so broken. And he went from being so broken to not just a little bit better. And that was my goal in the beginning. I said, I'm not going to be content if we can just make him comfortable here. This kid's got to get out in the world. And so in the process, of course, my husband and I also benefited. Our health also improved and improved to the point where, you know, energy from morning till night, just incredible stamina. It's just an incredible blessing. So about the time my son got better, I started to have this conviction that this low-level chemical soup that we had to get rid of in our house was actually impacting everyone in the country. And then by word of mouth, I don't know, I never advertised, but somehow people would hear what happened, and I started working with people from all over the country. And typically people who had been to many doctors, they weren't better or they weren't where they wanted to be. And without a doubt, I found that I developed a process that's very doable that removes the harmful chemicals from your diet and from your home. And it is literally transformed many lives.
I want to comment that you have, bar none, one of the best blogs on your website about health in the home, specifically health in the home. It's outstanding. So as you're listening to Marilee, if you have an issue and you want to clean up your home, you're talking to the best possible person here who can help you. But beyond that, she created a miracle product. So I want her to have enough time to tell you about it. I tripped across it early in my days of eliminating toxins, and I couldn't get over how phenomenal it was because it's based on plant enzymes, and cleaning products had always bothered me. And so suddenly I had this nifty product that were plant enzymes and little things like I would eat eggs and I hated the way it stuck to the plate. So I would spray her product on my plate, and 5 minutes later it would slide right off and make it easy to clean it. I use her product to clean my kitchen, my dishes, my laundry, my toilets, my floors. It's one product of plant enzymes and it's brilliant. So tell us how you came about to create this product.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to just say is that companies today that are trying to make non-toxic products, we applaud that. And my purpose is to uplift the education and the knowledge so that not only the consumer, but also the other companies are, you know, making human safety first.
Right. That's one reason I wanted to interview you, because I want to shine a light on you for doing what you've done. It's important.
Well, it was necessary in order for my son to recover. I had to dig into it this deeply because it didn't make sense, you know, that he was reacting to these things. So in the past, and even now, most chemists go by the toxicology model of the dose makes the poison. And what that means is that, you know what, a little bit of this chemical is not gonna hurt. It's no problem. And so we therefore have hundreds of products in our homes that might have a little bit of this poison, a little bit of that poison, and they add up. So that's one point, but there's another point now that has been brought to light since the science of epigenetics has emerged. And it's been called the science of hope. It really is, it's so amazing because what it says is, wait a minute, this old dose makes the poison toxicology model is not correct, because they have found that even small amounts of one chemical can actually turn on and off your DNA.
Right.
And now that might sound scary, but just the very point that I said on and off is key. And if I can tell you that I can go from needing a kidney transplant to not in a very short time, and my son could go from extreme brain damage to extreme brain function and physical function in a relatively short time, that is hope.
Now, let me interject here. For those of you who are out there who approach me when I speak and say, hey, I'm swimming upstream because I got unlucky. I got bad DNA. I have all of these diseases in my DNA. Guess what? Epigenetics say you can turn that switch on or leave it off. That's exactly what she's talking about. It doesn't matter what you inherited from your parents. If you don't aggravate your system with all of this toxicity and you live a clean life, you can leave that switch off. And that's enormous. The power is in your hands.
That's correct. My mother had breast cancer. My father had heart disease. I mean, lots of family history. And, you know, I see that defied all the time. People recovering from MS, from everything in the book that you can imagine, using these principles. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. We are offering, to me, it's like, I mean, I think about it. I was in slavery. We are in slavery unless we understand what it is that's impacting us. If I'm sitting here, and I'm sitting here with something on my cabinet that is actually outgassing chemicals to the air, and I'm, you know, my body is having to deal with it. And all I have to do is get it out of my house, and all of a sudden I'm not dealing with it. I mean, we're talking huge, concrete, doable steps that make a difference. So going back to the product, I knew that the dose makes the poison is not applicable today. We have 1 in 2 children in America have some sort of chronic illness. 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women will get cancer in their lifetime. Children, the number 2 disease in children is cancer after accidents. We are losing our children.
Yeah, 53% of them are sick.
That's right.
And it's something you can change for your child.
Quickly. I have so many stories. And so the neurological diseases, you know, Alzheimer's, dementia, those are have an exponential rise. And so when we look to create a product, the focus was human health. Yes, a little bit of anything that's toxic makes a difference. So,
and it's all the little bit of toxics that add up. Even in autism, the conclusion currently is it's not any one thing, but it's all of it together causing the condition in the child. So yeah, are vaccines part of it? Quite possibly, but they're not the whole story. And you've got to clean up all the toxicity. And that's what will help your child.
Right. And so the great news for this is that when we're out in the world, we don't have control, but in your house, you can control what's in your house, what you bring in and what you take out. So we have made the ingredients a real priority. It took us over 100 iterations to get the formula we have. We then tested it with many of my most sensitive clients, and before we decided, okay, we're going to go out with it. But even after that passed, that was not enough for us. We did independent third-party testing that put our product in direct contact with human-like, skin and eye tissue. And the CEO of the company that tested actually called me and said, what did you do? We have never had a product test like this. It tested to be 100% not the skin irritant. It was like the control. And I kind of laughed because he was saying, well, who is your chemist? I said, some people say, oh, that's just anecdotal, stories like mine, like my son. I say those are the best ones. The human body is the very best register. If you have a study that shows that you can have this many parts per billion of fluorine and you're fine, I disagree. The human body doesn't like that.
Yeah, and it tells you that. Back to listen to your body. It tells you it doesn't like that.
And these sensitive people are the ones that, have really opened our eyes, the autistic kids like my son. So anyway, I told him that the ingredients that we chose were based on the experience I had had and learning, okay, this ingredient's not going to work, this ingredient's not going to work. So we made sure we had no preservative in our product that was toxic. And one of the problems today is in our products with a non-toxic label, many times they actually have an EPA registered pesticide in there for the preservative. And one of them is the isothiazolinone family. Well, it's an irritant to the nervous system. It's a skin irritant, etc. And really was problematic for my son and then many clients that I worked with in the past. So
now I have a funny story that Marilee's going to cringe that I'm going to tell, but I like to make German spinach salad. And so it's where you make your salad dressing right in your fry pan. And I made it and John and I were eating it. And all of a sudden I said, I'm not tasting the vinegar. So something's not right. And I went into the kitchen and learned that I had put French basics into my salad dressing instead of vinegar. We had eaten a fair amount of it. Neither one of us got sick. Neither one of us had any downside to doing that all. I told Marilee and she said, oh, for God's sakes, don't tell people I don't want them eating it. That's not what it's for. But that's how clean it is. I have one of the world's most sensitive bodies and I did not react at all. So you can trust this product. And what's amazing is it still cleans. It's brilliant in terms of what it does for cleaning your kitchen counters, your sinks, your dishes, your laundry, even our toilets. It's an amazing product, and yet it's completely toxin free. And it's toxic. It gets that rating from EWG as well. So it's an amazing product that I really recommend you all try because you will feel the difference when you use it instead of what you are using now.
So let me just say what I consider the most important point that you could walk away with today. And that is it's not about anything that costs money. It's about removal of products that are harmful. And we have a category by category, step-by-step process that we take people through that will dramatically change your air quality right away. In fact, the first step we always take is to remove all pesticides, all cleaning and laundry products from your house. And just in case you're going, what? I can't take out my hundreds of products and just toss them. Well, I found a really stress-free way, and can I just share it real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So what I say is our purpose is to remove these things so our air quality is improved. If people are buying a non-toxic product here and there, and they're thinking that's going to do it, but they've got 100 products all throughout their house, that low-level chemical soup is there. So we're trying to remove that. We're trying to take that pressure off their immune system. So I tell people what they can do is they can get one of these. This is a Sterilite, S-T-E-R-I-L-I-T-E box. It is a plastic. It's not perfect.
You can get them at Target or at Walmart or at any of the stores that are like that.
It's phthalate free. It's biocide free. It's BPA free. But what you do is I tell people, open your cap up, go under your sink, Just put all of your cleaning products in there, go throughout your house, bathrooms, closets, etc., your laundry room, get them out and put it in your outbuilding or your detached garage. That's the best place. If you don't have a detached garage, put it in your garage. And then when you need to go back in to get something, if you don't have replacements yet, you can just go get one product, use it, then take it back out. It's not impacting your air quality throughout your house all along, and we're able to really have a controlled experiment. So we go through category by category, and just to clarify on some pesticides, I don't say get a box like this. I say get a cardboard box. And you get those out of the house and you take them to a place, a disposed dump, and get them, and don't ever put them in your house again. We have a list on our website that is non-toxic alternatives. I don't care if you live in Houston, Texas with 1 million roaches. We have better ways to deal with those. And people that have exterminators every 3 months, why do they have to do that? It's because the roaches are becoming more and more resistant, or the bugs are. You have to use more pesticides or stronger ones. And
yeah, I have a whole chapter on what to do for bugs that isn't toxic. And what I don't know if this is what you do, but I recommend that people put down dishes of beer, because believe it or not, roaches love beer and they'll go in and they'll drown. You don't need to be spraying anything. I ran into a guy named Richard the Bugman who has been doing 50 years of non-toxic bug removal in New Mexico, and he works at the University of New Mexico, and he shared all of his tips with me so that I could share them with my readers.
I
Because
love
roaches are insidious. God, they're icky, but you don't want to be putting heavy poisons down for them. They're bad for you, they're bad for your children, they're bad for your pets.
pesticides are the most toxic product you can have in your house. They cause cancer, neurological problems. You can't think, you can't, depression, etc., Parkinson's, MS, obesity, asthma. I mean, you name it. They are absolutely horrific. And
they're unnecessary. There are alternatives between what you have probably on your website and what I have in my book. You should never have a product like that ever again. It's bad for you and everybody near you.
that's right. And we also have instructions on how you can clean up. Like if you've had pesticides sprayed for years, there's a way to decontaminate your house. No matter what your situation, no matter how bad, where you are, there's always a way to move up and better. You don't get stressed. This is step by step.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you that this process of going category by category can revolutionize your life. So once you take the pesticides out, then I go for the cleaning products. And just to make it simple so your head's not spinning, I typically will say, all right, let's just go ahead and just take all of them and put them in here, and I'll teach you how to determine if it's safe or it's not. And so that's a real simple way as well. You can vet products. You don't have to cross your eyes and go, oh my gosh, do I have to read these ingredients? Well, guess what? Cleaning products are not even required to have an ingredient list. So if you're talking about a conventional product, the only thing you might have is a toxic red flag that says danger. That means that if you swallowed a few drops to a teaspoon, you're going to die.
Yeah, companies won't tell you what's in their products. They call them proprietary because they don't want you to be able to look them up. They don't want you to know what they are, and they don't want you to know how much harm they're causing you. So keep that in mind. When EWG started looking into cleaning supplies, they couldn't get the information from most of the companies. There were a couple that were forthcoming, but most of them were not.
Well, and all of this is coming to light, and I really think the industry is changing, with all of this information out there, with consumers that are educated. And this is the key. 2 steps. You need to get the things out of your house that are poisonous, and you need to know how to truly choose safe things. So let me tell you this real quick bullet point. If you're looking at non-toxic cleaning products, they are going to have a list of ingredients. And so what we say is just go to EWG Skin Deep, type in the ingredient, and we recommend having products only with a 1 or 2 rating in your home. If you're really sick, just keep the 1s. Mm-hmm. And so let's say you pick up a bottle of some non-toxic cleaner and you're looking at 20 ingredients. Well, don't waste your time. Go to the very end. You know what? The end product's going to be the one that has the least in it. And typically, a lot of times, they're maybe the EPA registered pesticide, the most toxic. So start from the end. The first one you get that's over a 2, just toss it. Don't look, because guess what? We have fabulous replacements for not only cleaning products, but for skincare. And you know, there's great many products out there now that we can.
Yeah, 9 years ago when I started, I was lucky that I found your cleaning product, but it really took a lot of research to find skincare products and cosmetics. There weren't very many available 9 years ago. Now you get lots to choose from. You might have to look up all the ingredients, but you get lots to choose from. And sometimes EWG has the product itself with a whole rating right in its database. So.
And then there's also another wonderful certification that we got this. It's called Made Safe, and a Made Safe certification. And if a product has Made Safe, they investigate you to the nth degree. Not only your ingredients, but they go to the supplier of the ingredient. They find out about the working conditions, about the soil conditions, you know, how long has it been since they put pesticides in the ground or whatever. So pretty amazing. We're, you know, the more we know, the more consumers are discriminating, the industry is going to change, and we'll have more and more opportunity. And I want to
go ahead.
I want to say this, you know, if this sounds overwhelming to people, you want me to tell you what's overwhelming? Overwhelming is having cramps so bad that you have to take a narcotic. Overwhelming is having to take antibiotics over and over again without resolution. Overwhelming is having migraine headaches, whatever. That's overwhelming. You know what's easy? What doesn't cost a penny, which is common sense, getting a box, taking it out.
Yeah, I got really angry when I realized that my government was not protecting me. And so what I advocate is that we all need to join together as an army of one, because as little as a 5% shift in buying habits, 5%, and the industry sits up, takes notice, they don't want to lose that business, and they start to change. And I have seen a lot of change over the last 9 years. Thank goodness. But we all need to get part of, you know, join us, become an army of one with us, and do this and advocate for a low toxin life.
Right. We really, like you said, we want to create an army of American families that have created healthy homes and are eating real food, because it will, you know, we are talking about a fork in the road opportunity here. And it is that simple. And just, I want to simplify one more thing. When we talk, you know, today's world, we've got so many people, we've got paleo diets, we've got ketogenic, we've got every kind of diet in the world, gluten-free, casein-free. Well, if you think about it, the more we go forward, the more issues we're having with food. Why? It's because of all these chemicals. Get the chemicals out of the food. Simple. Many times there's resolution. People don't have the allergies to they can eat foods. They can eat real food. And so,
and it's not that much harder to make real food than it is to make something out of a box or drive-through fast food. It's just that we've gotten hung up on convenience. But I can make dinner faster than I can go to a fast food restaurant and drive through, using only whole food products, because it's a rhythm that you get. And once you get it and you start to feel how good your body feels eating real nutrients, which your body reacts very positively to, then you don't want to go back. But it's getting us away from the whole mindset of convenience. And if you do it, your body will thank you. So I want you to hear this, because it's not as hard as you make it out to be for you to turn your life and your environment around and be healthy.
That's right. And scientists today are linking the exponential rise in disease to our exposure to these chemicals. And it's really time for us. It takes too much time for the medical world to digest this, filter it down, and apply it. We have the information now, and you can act on it in an afternoon.
And it doesn't take you away from having a doctor. It's just not what he learned in medical school. So you can't expect him to know what to tell you, because that's not what he learned. And like right now in the pandemic, thank God we have doctors, but they didn't learn how to remove toxicity from our lives. That's not what their education is about. So you need to own that for your body and your family, and then use them for what their expertise is, which is not that.
Well, and speaking of this, the pandemic, it has really shed that bright light on how important our indoor air quality is. And the EPA has named indoor air quality as one of the biggest threats to health. And on March 27th, the New York Times ran an article saying that indoor and outdoor pollution increases your chances of catching any kind of communicable disease. It weakens your immune system. And then they go on to say, and our home's air is mostly more toxic than the outdoors. And then the EPA makes a statement, your indoor air can be 200 to 500 times more toxic, but if you just cleaned your house with conventional cleaning products, maybe 1,000 times more toxic.
Right. That's why Marilee's product is so important. I'm going to have to wrap this up because we're out of time, but I want people to know how to find you. And then I hope at some point you will come back and talk with me some more, because we have just scratched the surface in terms of what everyone can learn from you. Her product is called Branch, like the branch of a tree, Basics. And if you type that into your cursor, it will take you right there. It comes in a concentrate. You get to add water to bring it to whatever level you need for whatever cleaning job it's going to do for you. And that's all made very clear by Marilee and her product. And that's where the unbelievable databases that she's collected in her blogs on how to have a clean home. You can probably also find you that way. Is that correct? If someone wants to hire you?
Yes, just go to branchbasics.com, and also up on our website, there's at the top, there's a link to Toss the Toxins, and that has videos on the step-by-step, category by category. We're building that to go through everything from your cookware to, things with water repellent, PFAS.
Right.
Chemicals, etc.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. There's so much great information there. So make sure you go and noodle around, because it will save you a lot of research on your own. And then you also have a presence, I know, on Facebook, and that's under Branch Basics, correct? Yeah. Anything else that you want them to know about how to find you?
That's it. I just invite you to think about, I wonder what it would be like if I tossed the toxins, got things out of my house. I wonder how it might impact my family.
And one other thing, when I first contacted Marilee, she sent me a video that's a testimonial that someone she helped did without solicitation and sent it to her. And it made me want to cheer, because this woman talks about how she had a horribly sick child that nobody knew how to help, and how frustrated she was, and how many experts she had sought information from. And still this child was getting skinnier and skinnier and sicker and sicker. And by meeting Marilee accidentally and swapping out her cleaning things, just her cleaning things, her child started to have a miraculous recovery. So I want you to know, this is not just me, this is not just Marilee, this is something that will help you. and help you raise healthy children and help you have a healthy body. So this is important for everybody. So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. I was so excited that I was going to get to interview you.
Well, I get very excited to share it because I know what a difference it can make.
So thank you. We will do this again. And everybody, heed. Go to the site and learn. And my second book will be out any day, which is How We Live with Other People and Stay Low Toxin, because I don't eat the American Standard Diet, but almost everyone else in my life does. So how do I deal with that? I felt that it was important that I shared that as well. So look for my book, Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin. And thank you all for listening and joining us today. Thank you, Marilee.
Thank you.